Hello friends. So, you want to make a Zelda theory. Love 'em or hate 'em, Zelda theories are here to stay. The Zelda community is a pretty dedicated group of oddballs and overthinkers. We overanalyze every minute detail, and still to this day, theories are painstakingly crafted about games that are over 10, 20, even 30 years old. It's incredible, the endless fountain of speculation and theories that we can come up with about these games. Now, I've been involved with the Zelda Theory community myself for quite some time, and I've seen a lot of different theories and theorists alike, and it feels like as I interact with the community, everyone has their own 2 cents to put forward, which is awesome. I love when we collectively pool ideas and information together and use our big old brains. But what is it that separates the best theories and theorists from the rest? You may have come to this video hoping for answers because maybe your own theories keep getting shot down. Or maybe you just want to do better because, well, there is always room for improvement, even among the best. So that's what I would like to talk to you about today. How to create a sound Zelda theory that, when presented, won't immediately be shot down. Now, just as a disclaimer, I'm not saying that I'm the best Zelda theorist around. I'm not. And some of this advice might sound kind of brutal or mean even, and that's not my intention. I'm writing this video with the idea of truly providing sound advice and showing a sneak peek into my own process so that you can improve. This is not a dig at anybody in particular, nor is it a one-size-fits-all solution, because everyone's process is a little bit different. But if you are someone who is perhaps struggling to get into the Zelda theory space because when you present your ideas, they get ruthlessly picked apart and discarded, then maybe this advice will help you out. And these are not necessarily exclusive to Zelda theories either. I'm just using Zelda as my main focus and example for this video because, well, I make Zelda content. So, yeah. So, you want to make a Zelda theory. Here's some steps to follow to help you out. Step 1. Start with a question. A good mystery is the hook, the key to the best of the best Zelda theories. So often I see people start with an idea or an answer and then try to work their way back. But that is an inherently flawed approach, because you're working backwards. And when an issue arises, you have to scrap your entire premise rather than just navigating the forks in the road ahead. Instead, I advise you to start with a question, a mystery that you want answered. For example, I might ask myself, what is the origin of Snow Peak Ruins? Who used to live here? Then I can work forward from there, rather than starting with an established idea like Snow Peak Ruins was Zelda's summer vacation home. Because once we get to the next step, if I have an established idea like that, it could all easily fall apart. But if I start with a question, something more fluid and open-ended, then I still have a path ahead of me no matter what. So in short, don't start with, hey, here's my cool idea, and call that your theory, because that's not a theory. That's your cool idea. Nothing wrong with having cool ideas. They're cool, but let's call a spade a spade. Step 2. Find and follow the evidence. With our question in mind, it's time to gather the evidence. The actual evidence, not your headcanon. Take in as much material surrounding your subject as possible and weigh it all out. For your theory to work, you must not omit any evidence that may contradict what you're hoping for, which links back to step 1, because you really shouldn't be hoping for any particular outcome at this point anyways. Find all your evidence and see where it points towards. Going back to our Snow Peak Ruins example, if we went with the Zelda's vacation home idea out the gate, suddenly our evidence of armories and sigils, cannons and weapons would all contradict this idea, and you'd suddenly be at the end of the line. Instead, if we start with our question of who used to live in this dilapidated mansion, and then find all these interesting crests and rooms of weapons, now we have somewhere to go. Armories indicate, well, soldiers. In essence, what this means is that your evidence should be here as a way to pave your way forward. not justify something that you want. Which brings us to our next point. Step 3, try to disprove your own theory. Now, this may sound weird. What? We just gathered all of this evidence. Why are we trying to sabotage ourselves? Well, the answer is you're not. You're testing your defenses. If you've properly taken all of the evidence into account and aren't willfully omitting anything, then you shouldn't have any trouble here. But it's still important. You need to weigh the evidence against whatever conclusion you've come to. If you've disproven your own theory now, then you need to go back a step and see where else the evidence can lead. If you've fired all the facts that you can at your own theory and it still holds up, well, now you're onto something. Which brings us to step 4, mindset. Be prepared to be wrong. Theories are not facts. If what you've stumbled upon is simply a fact of the game, like the Rito and Koroks of Wind Waker being descended from the Zora and Kokiri respectively from Ocarina of Time, well, congrats. You've discovered a fact, not a theory. That is just something that is 100% confirmed. Still good findings though, just not a theory. But in the realm of theories, there's always going to be some room for error. And with an ongoing series like Zelda, there's always going to be new information that crops up. So the reality of the situation is that you must regard your theory as simply a theory, and you must be prepared to be wrong. For example, before Breath of the Wild launched, on an old channel of mine, I put out a theory that this game would follow the Hero of Time in the Downfall timeline. I made this theory based on the limited information that we had of the game pre-launch, which was that the player character version of Link was a hero that had been defeated. And in the official Zelda timeline, there's only one recorded instance of that happening, following the timeline split of Ocarina of Time. However, when the game came out and new information was available, I had to concede that I was incorrect. Looking back on it now, this theory sounds ridiculous, but it wasn't an uncommon idea being tossed around at that time. So, be prepared to be disproven, be ready to be wrong, and never accept theory as fact. And finally, not a deliberate step per se, but just an idea that I'd like you to bear in mind throughout all of this. The principle called Occam's razor. In short, Occam's razor is the idea that the simpler explanation is usually the correct one. Or to take it a step further, the idea that the fewer assumptions you have to make, the better. If you have two possible outcomes, but one of them relies on you filling in the blanks yourself more than the other, then you're better off going with the conclusion that relies on fewer leaps. Your theory should have as few gaps in information, as few leaps and reaches as possible. Occam's razor dictates that you must rely on as few assumptions as possible, and again, this does tie particularly into step 2. Please remember that your evidence should point towards the conclusion you come to and not be cherry-picked to justify your desires. And that's all the advice I can think of at this time. Please do not interpret this as me talking down to you or being patronizing. Instead, I encourage you to take these ideas, these principles, and run wild with them. Zelda as a series is rife with mysteries and unanswered questions, so there is no shortage of places to go from here. So run free, Zelda theorists, and I hope that in some way, this video helped you craft your Zelda theory. Thanks for watching. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before we end this, I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to my patrons and channel members, including but not limited to Tetra, Brenda, Justin, Callie, Greymage, Hylian Wes, Gale, Ethan3G, and Clifford. Thank you all so much for the support and for watching, and I will catch you all next time. Bye bye!